Better thinking, faster decisions, bigger ROI. This is the Finding 12 Minutes podcast. The idea is simple. If you can find 12 minutes of efficiency in your day, you will gain an hour every week, and that changes how we work. Each episode is focused on practical ways to use AI, technology, and smarter strategies to help you move faster, think clearer, and get more done with less effort. So let's find your 12 minutes.
Have you ever watched the team deliver exactly what was requested? It was on time, it was on budget, and according to the specifications or the BDR, only to discover that the customers barely actually use any of those features or functionalities. That team may not have had a delivery problem. It may have had a discovery problem. They built the thing correctly. They just proved or never proved that it was the right thing to build. And that distinction matters because many organizations have become very good at producing features. They have roadmaps, sprint plans, deadlines, dashboards, release schedules. They have it all. But the activity is not the same as progress. A team can move quickly and still move in the wrong direction. So that brings us today to today's topic, product discovery versus product delivery, and why product strategy is not a feature strategy. So I'd like to start with this concept of, how do we define define discovery? How do we define delivery? Well, let's start with the simple definitions. Product discovery is the work that we do decide to do that should fit and why it should be built, right? So the discovery is that we're just working through this process of figuring out what should we build and why should we build it. Product delivery is the work that we do to build it, release it, support it, and improve it. So what you find is that discovery asks the questions like, are we solving a real problem? Does the problem matter enough to address? Who experiences the problem? What evidence do we have? Has anyone talked to the customer about this? Or has the customer told us about this problem? What outcome are we trying to create? What's the smallest way to test these assumptions? Whereas delivery asks questions, a different set of questions. Delivery focuses on questions like, should we build this? What would it take to build this? How do we make it reliable? How do we test it? How do we release it without creating new problems? And here's the simplest way to remember the difference. Discovery reduces the risk of building the wrong thing. Delivery reduces the risk of building the thing poorly. Neither is more important. You need both. So you need to do both. So when you get organizations, why do organizations default to delivery? Most organizations naturally drift towards delivery because delivery is easier to see. You can see the sprint, you can count the stories, you can announce a release, you can place a date on the roadmap. Discovery is less tidy. It involves questions, interviews, observations, prototypes, experiments, and sometimes the uncomfortable decision not to build something. Discovery can look like hesitation when in reality, it is more risk reduction. There's another reason teams default to delivery. Stakeholders rarely arrive with carefully defined problem statements. They arrive with solutions. I need a dashboard. We need an app. We need to build an AI assistant. We need a button moved on the application. We need the same feature that our competitor has. And that's a very common one. Like, let's build this. More recently, I had one to where why don't we have a certain data set in our application? Our competitor has it. Well, no one's asked the question, has anyone or any of our customers asked for that data set? So just because a competitor has it doesn't mean that we should. And the mistake is treating the proposed solution as a validated requirement. A feature request is useful information, but it's not proof that the requested feature is the right answer. So ultimately, a feature request is a clue, not a conclusion. So let's look at a practical example. Imagine that an operations leader asks the product team to create a real-time dashboard. The delivery team first is going to immediately begin translating that request into work. What data belongs in the dashboard? What should the layout look like? How many screens are required? How long will engineering need? When can we release this? And while those are all valid questions, they are very premature. A discovery-oriented team pauses and asks, what decisions are you unable to make today? When does the problem occur? Who experiences? What are you doing now instead of this dashboard? How are you solving that problem? And what does the current process cost you? If we didn't do this, what are we losing? After several conversations, the team might learn that project managers spend 2 hours every Friday collecting status updates from different systems. Even after doing that work, they often learn about schedule risk too late to intervene. Now the problem becomes much clearer. The customer does not necessarily need a new dashboard. The customer needs to identify at-risk projects earlier and prepare an accurate status update faster. That distinction changes the solution. The dashboard may solve the problem, but also might create an exception alert, a weekly automated summary, a simplified risk report, or an integration to an existing tool might solve that problem as well. You don't need a dashboard. You may need something else. The dashboard may still be the right answer. The difference is that it's now earned its place as the possible solution versus it just automatically being the default solution. Because discovery and dashboards, before discovery, the dashboards, they were treated as a requirement. After discovery, it becomes more of a hypothesis. Maybe that is the solution. Maybe it's not. And the team now has a measurable outcome. How do I reduce time required to prepare a project update and identify risks earlier? Maybe solved by a dashboard. May not be solved by a dashboard. Don't know. That's product strategy. It connects the work to the problem and to an outcome rather than simply placing another feature on the roadmap. So product versions of the 5 whys, like when we think about that concept of 5 whys, and I know I've mentioned this before, but there's a product version of this. And one practical way to move from feature request to a problem statement is a version of the 5 whys for products. When someone asks for a new feature, maybe the first ask or the first why is, why are you asking for this? What's triggered the request? Second, you may be asking a question similar to, what are you trying to accomplish that you can't accomplish today? And this begins to start separating the job from the proposed solution. A third why may be as simple as, why does it matter? Why does the dashboard matter? Does the current problem create wasted time, lost revenue, additional risk, customer frustration, or rework? Or is it really a personal preference, right? You have to be able to identify those things. A fourth why may be something like, how are you solving this today? And where does the process fail? The workaround often contains the most useful discovery information. If they're solving that problem today in a different way, maybe there is a solution that's already built into that. And then the fifth why could be something as, what observable change would tell us that this problem has been solved? So if we built you this dashboard, like what's the one observable thing that we can point to that says, yeah, problem is solved? What would become faster? What would become easier? Is it safer, more accurate? Is it less expensive? Is it more reliable? And from those answers, we can then create a problem statement. For this user in this particular situation, they struggle to complete this job because of this barrier, creating measurable impact. We will know that we can improve the situation when the behavior or the outcome changes, right? That now is far more useful than a roadmap item that simply says build a dashboard. So discovery and delivery must operate, together. And both the discovery and the delivery should not become two isolated departments or two sequential phases. The same cross-functional product team should remain responsible for both. Product managers, designers, engineers may spend different amounts of time on each activity, but everyone benefits from the understanding that the customer, the problem, and the assumptions in the intended outcome. Strong product teams perform discovery and delivery continuously rather than handing work from a thinking team to a building team. Engineering involvement in discovery matters because engineers often see possibilities, constraints, and simpler alternatives than others may. And that's an interesting. So having a more robust team is going to help be able to solve the problem easier and faster. So product and design and involvement in delivery matters because learning does not stop when development begins. And releasing something does not end discovery. Delivery produces new evidence. Are people using it? Did the behavior change? Did the intended outcome get improved? Did we misunderstand what we were delivering? That evidence feeds the next discovery cycle. So this is an endless cycle. It's never stops. So having all these people participate and then the delivery cycle and the discovery continues as long as the product exists. So when you think about that, right, discovery informs delivery, delivery produces information for further discovery. Discovery without delivery becomes insight with no impact. Delivery without discovery becomes output with no direction. So where can generative AI help in all of this? So when you think about AI can accelerate both sides of this process. From discovery, AI can help summarize customer interviews, organize feedback, identify recurring themes, draft interview questions, list assumptions, generate alternative hypothesis, turn rough notes into a structured experiment plan. During delivery, a little different. AI can help convert validated decisions into user stories, acceptance criteria, testing scenarios, documentation, release notes, can even help with creating training materials and internal communications. But there's an important guardrail in all of this. AI can organize the evidence. It cannot manufacture the evidence. Synthetic personas is not a customer. AI generated explanation is not a validation. A polished prototype is not proof that someone wants the product. And a confident answer from an AI model does not replace human judgment about which problems matter and which trade-offs align with our strategy. Using AI to accelerate learning, but you cannot skip learning. So we can accelerate it, but you can't skip it. That follows the broader Finding 12 Minutes principle. Treat AI as a collaborator, begin with a focused use case, and retain human judgment. Measure those results, and then you really want to expand from there. So we think about this from a 12-minute exercise. Here's the action for this particular episode. Choose one feature that you're currently sitting on your roadmap or your backlog. Set a 12-minute timer. Spend the first 2 minutes rewriting the feature request in plain language. Spend the next 3 minutes applying the 5 whys. Then spend the next 3 minutes separating what you know from what you were assuming, and then spend 2 minutes defining the outcome you would expect to change if the problem was solved. Use the final 2 minutes to identify the smallest experiment that you could produce that's useful and can actually produce evidence. And at the end of those 12 minutes, you may decide one of 3 things. 1, the evidence is strong enough to proceed with delivery. 2, the idea needs some small discovery experiment first. Or 3, the request does not appear important enough to justify the investment. All 3 are productive outcomes. Stop weak work before it enters delivery, and that can save far more time than making delivery marginally faster. So wrapping this up, the fastest product organization is not necessarily the one that ships the most features. It is the organization that learns quickly enough to avoid building on the wrong ones. Product strategy is not a list of promised features. It's a set of choices about the problems you are worth solving and which outcomes matter, and how much evidence is required before making an investment. So take 12 minutes, choose one feature request, ask the 5 whys before it becomes 5 sprints, because product discovery does not slow down product delivery. If done correctly, it prevents delivery from spending months moving quickly in the wrong direction.
And that's your 12 minutes. If you found value in this, share it with someone who needs to work smarter, not harder. And remember, small efficiencies compound. Find 12 minutes a day and the results take care of themselves. I'll see you in the next episode.